Beyond the colossal pillars and ancient writings lie a shocking tale of power and a civilization that once thrived in the shadows of history. For thousands of years, the Abu Simbel Temples graced the west bank of the Nile River, witnessing the rise and fall of civilizations. Eventually, it had to be moved hundreds of meters inland. Preserving such a significant piece of history requires meticulous planning and execution. The challenge lies not just in the physical relocation, but in ensuring the temple's integrity and historical significance are maintained throughout the process. How was this achieved without any loss of its historical splendor? Stay tuned until the end of the video to uncover the breathtaking revelation that has been concealed for millennia. When you have to relocate historical sites, how do you do it without causing damage? This was the challenge faced with a 3,000-year-old Egyptian temple. Moving the Abu Simbel Temples was no small task. A team of experts, including archaeologists, engineers, and conservationists, meticulously planned every step of the relocation. The goal? To transport this ancient wonder without compromising its structural integrity or historical significance. But before we find out how they managed to achieve this huge accomplishment, let's pause for a moment to grasp the purpose that motivated the creation of these temples. When you think of historical places, Egypt is probably one of the first places that pops into your mind. Ancient Egyptian temples are where history and mythology intersect. For centuries, people have been wondering how they came to be, since they were remarkable structures that serve as a gateway to understanding the ancient civilization that once thrived along the banks of the Nile. What are temples even for? Egyptian temples were sacred places where priests served the gods. A temple was a house for one or more deities to be dedicated to. Gods were believed to live within their statues in the temple shrine. But these temples were more than just religious centers. They served as houses of cultural knowledge. Each temple housed a library of ritual papyri, and major temples even had a house of life where these texts were compiled and copied. Temples were designed to reflect and maintain the universe. They were sacred and everyone knew it. Since the beginning, they were given utmost care and respect, so the people of today are expected to do so too. The lower sections of walls and columns were adorned with intricate plant motifs, symbolizing the natural world. The middle sections showcased the king conducting rituals and worshipping the gods, providing a glimpse into religious practices. Meanwhile, the ceilings were adorned with depictions of stars and constellations, connecting the earthly realms with a cosmic order. Temples also played crucial roles in politics and administration. The names of the pharaohs who constructed them will go down in history. The Abu Simbel Temples are one of the most notable ones. Built in honor of the ancient Egyptian deities Amun, Rahu Ratki, and Ptah, as well as dedicated to Ramesses himself, these temples are regarded as the most stunning among those constructed during the pharaoh's rule. Many tourists highlight them as must-see attractions during their travels to the country. Abu Simbel was a masterpiece crafted by Pharaoh Ramses II. The larger temple, adorned with colossal statues of Ramses II, boasted a unique design. On specific dates, sunlight would penetrate the inner sanctuary, illuminating statues in what is believed to be a tribute to the pharaoh's coronation and birth. In a twist of fate, these temples encountered a fresh hurdle. The construction of the Aswan High Dam in the 1960s resulted in flooding near the original temple site. The historic temples stood on the brink of an uncertain fate, facing the imminent threat of submersion. To preserve this ancient treasure, a monumental decision was made to move the temples. In the 1960s, a consortium of countries joined forces to save the Abu Simbel Temples from the rising water of the Nile due to the construction of the Aswan High Dam. The relocation project, undertaken between 1964 and 1968 under the guidance of UNESCO, was an engineering marvel. The temples were meticulously dismantled and relocated to an artificial hill 200 feet above and 600 feet west of their original location. Now, you might be wondering, How did they manage to move structures that have stood for thousands of years? Well, it was a difficult process involving precision, expertise, and cutting-edge technology of the time. The first trial took place on May 21, 1965, when a massive block of the Great Temple was skillfully carved out and successfully relocated. This pivotal trial showcased the safety and precision of the innovative procedures, ultimately earning the trust and approval of major companies and UNESCO. The first step was dismantling the temples piece by piece. Each block, each statue, carefully catalogued to ensure an accurate reconstruction later. It was like solving an ancient Egyptian puzzle in 3 dimensions. Unlike conventional temples, Abu Simbel Temple was not constructed of stone, but rather carved into a cliff. This presented a real problem. How do you relocate structures that are essentially part of the very rock they're carved into? It was the Swedish company VBB that rose to the occasion, unraveling the complexity of rescuing these ancient wonders. The Swedish solution was as audacious as it was ingenious. The rock above the temple roofs had to be delicately peeled away. The temple's roofs, walls, and intricate facades were then meticulously cut into blocks, each weighing an astounding 20 to 30 tons. Sawing through the walls, roofs, and facades required a delicate touch. Power saws would create too much waste, so hand saws from Sandvik became indispensable for maintaining the integrity of the porous sandstone. The next phase in 1965 was a long shot. The process of dismantling began, and it was no ordinary deconstruction. The facades, adorned with centuries-old stories, were draped in a protective cloak, sand cushions carefully wrapped around them. A staggering 19,000 cubic meters of sand cocooned the Great Temple alone, shielding its precious facade from potential damage caused by falling fragments. Another challenge unfolded, and it was no easy feat. Relocating blocks to the new site required utmost care and precision. This was not a straightforward task, not at all, and it was the most delicate one too. The construction of a domed structure, serving as the new home for Abu Simbel, required meticulous planning and execution. From the marble-rich quarries of Carrara, Italy, skilled artisans were summoned to breathe life into the fragments of Abu Simbel. Experts adhered to a set of strict guidelines. Blocks from the temple ceiling, each containing echoes of ancient rituals, could not exceed a weight of 20 tons. The facade blocks, guardians of millennia-old stories, were capped at 30 tons. Precision was the key. Facade blocks, bearing the weight of history, were restricted to a maximum size of 15 square meters. The ceiling blocks, carrying the weight of time, were limited to 10 square meters. The temple rooms, each a sanctuary of the past, were assigned a maximum block size of 12 square meters. With the guidelines as their compass, the specialized marble cutters delicately carved the future of Abu Simbel. As the final piece found its home in the temples, the stage was set to resurrect the surroundings to their former glory. Surveyors went to work to guarantee each block was perfectly positioned, which at times could take several hours. The blocks were placed on the ground by cranes and then moved into their exact positions by hydraulic lifts. Once the last piece of the temples was put into place, it was time to reconstruct the surrounding area exactly the way it had been. So the rocks surrounding the facade were restored and artificial hills created. After years of careful planning and arduous work, the relocation of the Abu Simbel Temples reached its culmination on September 22, 1968. The cost of this endeavor was substantial, amounting to approximately 200 million krona at the time, equivalent to about 1.7 billion in today's monetary value. But the true value lies in the preservation of a piece of our past, ensuring that the Abu Simbel Temples stand proudly for another 3,000 years. As you can see, modern technology played a huge role in moving the temple. A fleet of specialized worksite machines, carefully selected for transport purposes, made its journey across the seas from Europe to Abu Simbel. This extraordinary project, weighing in at 630 tons of excavation machinery, 135 tons of compressors, jackhammers, and perforators, along with 350 tons of lifting machines and 610 tons of vehicles, was a success. No other construction project has encountered such an array of testing procedures, diverse projects, and innovative technical solutions. Here comes the aftermath. On November 16, 1972, UNESCO adopted the Convention concerning the protection of the world culture and natural heritage. This convention was a game changer, emphasizing that certain parts of our cultural and natural heritage are of outstanding interest and must be preserved for the world. The central idea behind the World Heritage Convention is that these sites are not just valuable to one nation, but to all of humanity. It's about recognizing and protecting the gems that contribute to our shared global heritage. The Abu Simbel Temples, relocated and preserved, made history by becoming the very first World Cultural Heritage Site in 1979.